Hey there YouTube, it's your boy Bob Moss at you with another reaction video. Today we got the Steam Deck. Yes, I ran out of content. Just JK. Okay. I did want to do a reaction to Harry Mack, and I know JJ dropped his new album, so wanted to do a reaction to that, but time constraints. I will get to them eventually, I think, probably. And I'm in this weird situation where I can't really upload the videos I want to, even if I make them, so I gotta be really picky on the videos I make. So I decided to do this. I was really interested in the Steam Deck, so yeah, let's get right into it, shall we? And I think I can. So there we go. Yep. All right, and this is on IGN.
I'm Bo Moore with IGN, and this is the Steam Deck, Valve's brand new handheld gaming PC.
Alright, let's get right into it.
I'm here at Valve, where I've spent the last few days going hands-on with the Steam Deck, as well as chatting with the people who made it. We've got a lot to cover, so let's dive right in.
Right, because this looks like a really good concept, where it's a Switch.
When I first saw the Steam Deck, I was a bit thrown off by its control layout.
But more
the thumbsticks are in line with the D-pad and face buttons, which looks a bit odd when you're used to the more offset angle found on most controllers. However, as soon as I held it myself, the layout felt completely natural.
Like, this is something I remember seeing it in the promotional material. It was really interesting because if you take your hand and you can imagine it being that big, like holding it, it's got to be a huge device probably. Because that's a 7-inch screen in between. Like, imagine a tablet-sized screen in between, and you're holding onto the controls. This is a big boy. This is a chungus.
The full-size thumbsticks felt precise, and while the D-pad wasn't quite as clicky as I'd like, it was fully serviceable for rounding out some quarter circles in Guilty Gear Strive. Similarly, the face buttons and bumpers all felt solid and served me well through a few runs of Hades.
Phenomenal.
The triggers did feel a little bit squishy for my taste.
It's
I can
imagine
noting
a lot
that I
of
was using a
roguelikes
non-final hardware unit, so it's possible that things might improve there as Valve tweaks the deck before launch. On the backside are 4 rear buttons, a welcome feature for anyone who's grown accustomed to using Pro-style controllers like the Xbox Elite. These, like the rest of the buttons and other inputs, can be fully customized to whatever you like thanks to Steam Input, Valve's commitment to making useful custom key bindings available for almost any controller layout. Underneath the thumbsticks are one of the deck's standout features, 2 precision trackpads, which give you access to mouse controls for games that don't play well with the controller.
Like, I remember reading up on a bit of it, and apparently it's pretty precise. Like, the people who tested it out at least reviewed the first set of units, really like the extra set of controls, because you have the D-pad, you have the joystick, and now you have these controls. You're adding more options, which I think at the end of the day is obviously going to be a lot better. So
the trackpads here are an evolution of the same technology that we've been working on since the Steam controller days and experimenting with internally. You also have seen some of our trackpad work as part of the Index controller, for example. They can be used for many different things. We have a keyboard that lets you do dual thumb typing. In-game, you can map them to areas of the screen for the mouse cursor to jump there and be kind of a one-to-one region type input. You can create on-screen menus that pop up on top of the game and have many customizable like macro buttons or keyboard keys. And you can just use it for mouse input, where it's really powerful and reliable for the people that are comfortable with that sort of input.
Both the thumbsticks and the trackpads are also capacitive, which means they can tell when your finger is on them. Combined with the internal gyro sensor, it gives you a weirdly precise level of control that, after a brief adjustment period, is...
Oh, wow, that's actually interesting. Wait, hold on. So they can sense when your thumb is on the
gives
trackpad.
You a weird... can tell when your finger is on them. Sticks and the trackpads are also capacitive, which means they can tell when your finger is on them. Combined with the internal gyro sensor, it gives you a weirdly precise level of control that, after a brief adjustment period, is honestly not far off from using a regular mouse. Yes, even in first-person shooters like Doom Eternal. Finally, the 7-inch screen is touch-enabled as well, giving you yet another option for controlling your games.
Yeah, see, the
Steam Deck will draw immediate comparisons to the Nintendo Switch.
Right, but I don't think it's genuinely going to be like a good competitor. Like not taking it the wrong way, but the Switch has its own set of like first-party exclusives or third-party exclusives. I don't know, but you can be generally assured like whatever Switch games are out there aren't going to be ported to any other system. So I don't think you're going to be really competing with the Switch in that regard. But I can see the appeal of this is with anyone with half a decent Steam account, or these people who don't want to invest into the Nintendo ecosystem could just be like, well, you have a Steam Deck and all your Steam games are now playable on this. The problem, I think, is it depends on how powerful the unit's going to be. Like, if this isn't competitive, or if the internals on this aren't really good, then, I mean, you ain't going to have a good experience. But I
while
think
it might look like a handheld console,
if Valve's
device
this,
has
then
much more in common with a desktop gaming PC. The Steam Deck runs a custom version of Steam OS that gives you a console-like experience on the surface, but under the hood is a full-blown PC.
It's a PC. We don't think people should be locked into a certain direction or
I think this rant went for a bit too long, so I'm going to cut this short, so let's get right into it.
certain set of software that they can install. If you buy a Steam Deck, it's a PC. You can install whatever you want on it. You can attach any peripherals you want to it. Maybe a better way to think about it is that it's a small PC with a controller attached as opposed to a gaming console.
I think it differs from these kind of platforms mainly because you can just customize the experience and use all the options at your disposal that are typically associated with PC gaming. We think that while there will be a pretty approachable entry point where you can see the games that work really well by default and and get a pretty seamless gaming experience. If you want to go one step further and use all of these options, you can customize your controls, your level of performance, battery life, use Steam Workshop or even mods that are outside of the Steam Workshop. All these options that are dear to to PC gamers are fully supported by the deck.
This means you can do pretty much anything on it that you can do at your deck.
I think, that I think is genuinely, I think if you're really consolidating everything he said, it's basically saying this is like the Android console amongst other consoles. You're allowed to do whatever you want to the device. But I think that's kind of a really unique approach, and I think, you know what, I think they really will find a big market with it.
Desk. Plug in a mouse and keyboard. Yep. Tab out of your games to a browser or video. Sure.
I don't know if it's going to work.
Load up third-party programs or even other game stores. No problem.
Like,
you can even wipe SteamOS entirely and install a fresh version of Windows if you want. But I will say the default SteamOS is smooth and efficient at getting you into your games, so I would imagine most people won't want or need to go that far. The point is, you can if you want to. Importantly, this also means that all of Steam's features, like cloud saves, are fully functional here. You can start playing a game on your desktop PC, save and quit, then load up and continue playing portably on your Steam Deck, with all of your progress, key bindings, and mods fully intact. You can also suspend games indefinitely on the deck itself, similar to how the Switch works, though you can't have multiple games suspended at once, like with Quick Resume on the Xbox Series X. Valve also told me that
I think the scary thing here is when they say hardware not final, and I know this is just more of an extreme example, but could you imagine if you like say this now and during release you just remove one of the controls, like the trackpads? Could you imagine the fucking backlash for it? Of course, I don't think they're actually going to do it, but I think they'll probably fine tune the internals to make it like a little better, like what thermally better or something else like that. But I don't think they're actually going to change it that much. But them saying hardware not final is almost like that small like doubt, like that seed of doubt in the back of your mind that's still sitting there.
They're looking into ways to cloud sync suspended games between desktop and deck, meaning you could potentially hop between platforms without needing to save and quit. But that functionality wasn't in place yet during my time with the device. While the Steam Deck is obviously designed for portable gaming, it's also fully functional as a desktop PC. Using a USB-C dock, you can connect it to a monitor, mouse and keyboard, Ethernet, and whatever other peripherals you want. Valve is developing an official docking station, which will be sold separately, but a standard USB-C dock will work just as well. In desktop mode, Steam Deck honestly just feels like a PC. The OS is Linux-based, but it feels largely familiar to Windows and is capable of running both Windows and Linux games. I played a bit of Factorio and Death Stranding with mouse and keyboard on a 32-inch monitor, and if it weren't for the deck sitting docked next to me on the desk, I would have honestly just forgotten that it wasn't running off a traditional desktop PC.
I feel like they keep playing Hades in the background, and I have to admit, yes, the moment I saw this console for the first time, the first thing that went through my head is, could you imagine playing Hades on this console? It would be beautiful. Like, Hades would work so well on this.
Of course, a PC gaming device isn't worth much if it can't play games well. But worry not, in the power department, the Steam Deck is no slouch.
I don't know.
We've been partnering pretty closely with AMD on bringing up next generation APU and developing the main board and the software solution around it. It has like 4 cores of Zen 2 architecture CPUs with SMT enabled, so up to 8 threads. And the GPU is based on the very latest AMD RDNA 2 architecture, which supports all the latest features like ray tracing and variable ray shading. The total APU combined power is about 2 teraflop, which should let people play the games that they have in their library without issues at 720 and provides lots of horsepower to that effect.
2 teraflops puts the Steam Deck in the ballpark of the Xbox One and PS4. In practice, it's actually more impressive than that. Since it targets a 720p resolution, which is more than enough for the 7-inch screen, the Steam Deck is able to play current-gen PC games at medium to high.
Oh, that's interesting. Wait, is it actually 720p screen? Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to check the resolution on this. I thought it was like probably a full HD 1920 by 1080, but okay.
Settings
I mean,
and smooth
720p
frame
screens
rates.
for 7 inches.
While I
is
wasn't
pretty
able
good,
to run
I
benchmark
can't really
tests during my hands-on time, I
But
played
that is
Death
interesting.
Stranding, Doom Eternal, Control, and several others, all of which looked great and played smoothly. The deck comes in 3 different models, but power-wise, they all have the same internals. The only difference is in storage space. The base model
Right.
has 64 gigs of
I, like, genuinely, when I saw this, I'm kind of confused at, like, what they're trying to go for here. Like, 64 gigs on a phone is, like, okay, you should be good for a year or two before you're forced to, like, start cutting photos and stuff out of it. 64 gigs on a gaming portable handheld console thing genuinely doesn't sound like a good idea. I mean, 64 gigs. Isn't Warzone like, what, 120, 140 gigs? Isn't Siege more than 64 gigs? I mean, then again, I don't think anyone would want to play Siege on this, but as an example, right? Now, granted, I heard they have the micro SD card and everything else that you can play off of that, but I don't think putting it on a micro SD card and playing it off of that is a good idea. Not to mention, the 64 gig model doesn't have the NVMe storage, so it's not as fast as the other 2 models as well. So, I don't know, I guess, because the reason I think a lot of people are okay with the 64 gigs is because I don't think it's targeted at people who want to play a lot of games on this. I think the 64 gig model is targeted at people who want to play retro games and older games that don't take as much storage. And if I'm not wrong, even Guilty Gear Strive is at least a couple more gigs beyond 64, right? If I'm not wrong, so I'm not really sure why, because the 256 and the 512 gig models are like acceptable, like fine, sure, 512 gigs. Like, I see them as using it as the max storage. I feel like that should be the minimum. But it is what it is. I mean, I would have thought they'd probably put like 256, 512, and then 1 terabyte. Like, that would have felt perfect. But
storage
this is like,
for $399.
I don't know.
Moving up to the 256 gig model costs $529, while the top end will cost $649 for 512 gigabytes.
and that's also true. The 512 gig model also has that anti-glare screen, and it's glass. So I think generally, I mean, if I had to make a bet, $399 is good value. But for the best value, I'd actually have to say 650 is actually pretty
All
good price.
3 storage devices
Right,
are
yeah.
SSDs. However, the 256 and 512 gig models
NVMe SSDs,
use an
right?
NVMe drive for
Right,
even
yeah.
faster load times. And while the internal storage itself can't be
And I know other people just say that I'm complaining for no reason. NVMe SSDs are really, really good. Like, once you start getting used to using it, like on my system and stuff, like, you can go back to like slower speeds, man. It is what it is.
upgraded, there's
Like,
an
hard
SD
drives
card
feel
slot
like
to
molasses
expand
now.
your storage even
Genuinely, they
further,
feel slow.
which games can be installed onto and played directly off of.
I suppose, yeah, if you can use a good micro SD card, I don't think you have to worry about
Steam
storage,
Deck
but-
will be available this holiday season with reservations starting soon. We've got a lot more coverage planned all month long, so for all that and more, keep it right here at IGN.
Yeah, it just looks like it's just it's been through hell and back. But yeah, guys, that is the Steam Deck first hands-on video with Valve. I mean, I don't have much more to say about it. I think generally, I think they've hit a good price. They've hit like, you know, a pretty good value package, considering like the handle space has like, you know, like really needed has needed a competitor in the space for a long time. Like the PlayStation Portable, the PlayStation Vita, then you have the Nintendo DS, then the Switch. Like the portable hand space has always needed a new competitor, and I think the Steam Deck kind of fills in the role really well. So we'll see what happens. I think they're shipping in early January, I think, if I'm not wrong. Late December, early January, so we'll catch up on that by then. So yeah, that's about it for the Steam Deck. This is a video I wanted to make because once I saw it, I was like, I had to make a video on this. So what do you guys think about the console? Do you think you're going to get one? And you have anything to add? Video ideas? I do watch the comments, and yes, I am keeping notes. So don't worry, those videos are upcoming. Harry Mack, I'm watching you, so don't worry. And yeah, I think this video will go up tomorrow, I think, probably. So hope you guys enjoy the video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and yeah. Catch you beautiful bastards in the next one. Peace out.